Welcome to Dreaming of Chess Mastery. I'm Neil Priest, and this is my YouTube channel that delves into the world of adult chess improvement. Of course, no chessboards in sight. If you want informative board-related content, I'm sure you know where to find it. Here you're going to get a weird cocktail of psychology, philosophy, and personal opinions. So, if that's okay with you, stick with it. This week, I thought I'd talk about a rather unfortunate game that I played last weekend. 60-30 on league chess, against a strong player, stronger than me, no doubt about that. And the game started and I played an opening and he did something. I was aware of this as a move, but it's the first time for a long time that I've actually faced it in a game. It's far more likely to be seen at higher levels, and so not surprising when I finally played a strong player, I had to deal with it. And I dealt with it okay, but then made a poor move which left me in a bit of trouble. I dug in, defended well, and eventually he made a few inaccuracies, and we got into a king and pawn ending, which was completely drawn. You know where this is going. It wasn't drawn. Eventually, I was white, we both had kings, rook, pawns. He had a B pawn, and I had a C pawn. And I was kind of calculating the quickest route to draw. Of course, and he was pressing, his king was better placed than mine, it's true. But not enough to jeopardize the draw. And also, obviously, it was a 60-30 game, and we found ourselves playing this with a few minutes on the clock. But I had enough time to think. And in the end, when I made my dreadful blunder, which sort of was a kind of impulsive move where he moved his king to d-file, so did I. When in fact, I had just previously calculated that perhaps walking around the other side of my c-pawn and collecting his b-pawn while he rounded up my h-pawn was the quickest route to the draw. And indeed, after losing it and when I'd calmed down and I looked at it, it was very easy to see that going into the position that I did, it would take me 4 moves to capture his b-pawn, and if I'd gone the other way, it would have taken me 3 moves. And one tempo is all it takes to turn a draw into a loss very often in king and pawn endings. Very, very annoying. And indeed, over the years, this is not the first time I botched a king and pawn ending. And if you followed my blogs that I used to write, now I don't know if any of those readers are actually with me in this journey, but if you were to have followed my blogs, I've written about a mistake log that I kept on puzzles, and which puzzles I was most likely to get wrong. And it turns out that the king and pawn ending puzzles on chess.com I would routinely fluff. So I know pawn endings are not exactly my strong point, and they are entirely reliant on calculation. But now we come down to the point of this video. I don't want to call this a sort of knowledge skill thing. I certainly had the knowledge to draw the ending, but frankly, what was the skill involved? The skill involved was counting to 4 versus counting to 3. That was it. So really, we talk about skill and knowledge in terms of the sort of conceptual, theoretical side, and then the ability to execute it in a game. But I think there's another layer to it, and that is that part of what we consider skill is sort of, and what I think is really the important element of skill, is a sort of intuitive ideas we have, or our general ability in a type of position. So I am not a skillful player, I will cheerfully admit, in pawn endings. But the skill required, as I say, to draw this ending was not great at all. So the problem is a little deeper. It's more to do with my ability to be calm when I'm calculating. And that is the beauty of king and pawn endings. They really do sort of shine a torch on your ability to calculate cleanly, to calculate calmly, methodically. Because that is what they amount to. There is theory, and in fact, one of my responses to this distressing lost opportunity was to get hold of a couple of books on endings. One of them is it's a very old book written in the 90s called The Final Countdown, and it really does look into deeper levels of endgame pawn endgame theory, and they talk about, if forgive me if this is a little too abstract, or perhaps if you are an advanced player following this, you say, yes, I know all about that. But the book very much unpicks an idea. There are two common ideas that at sort of the club level we'll consider: the opposition and triangulation, where a king can move through, one king can move through a cycle of 3 squares, and the other king can only use 2, and thereby you can gain the opposition. But the Final Countdown analyzes the idea of sort of coordinate squares, and what he calls appended squares. So the idea is basically, at a certain point, when he's there, I need to be here, and those squares are matching. And obviously, who gets there, gaining the opposition is of critical importance. And so it sort of delves into this whole theory, and very early on dismisses the other kind of theoretical element of king and pawn endings as being more trivial, and that is where it is simply a pawn race, where it is about tactical calculation, sometimes quite complicated, the tactics, but of a lesser order. And my sort of disastrous ending was on the lowest rung. It was, can you count to 4? And as it turns out, under the pressure of the clock, I couldn't, which is a pity for someone who taught maths for 25 years. Never mind. And I am going to dig into these endings, because this ending book, because although it's much more complex theory that it's sort of unraveling, it does give a lot of exercises, and these exercises will be a wonderful place to improve my calculation. And I figure that in all of them, if I can sort those out, my ability to do simple counting in pawn races under the pressure of a clock will be vastly enhanced. Of course, the other thing that I need to do is start looking at how I think. And a few weeks ago, I was discussing this, that there are sort of 3 levels, in a sense, to the different aspects of chess performance. There is, at a basic level, knowledge and skill. The concepts that we know and our ability to execute them. Then, on a sort of deeper level, there is the elements of actually putting all that together. So that is calculation, visualization, evaluation. And on a sort of more fundamental level still, is our ability to actually perform those calculations in real time, and what influences that. And I would argue they are both physical and psychological factors. So the way I think kind of falls more into that third category. And I need to really work on that, as do, I am sure, all of you. Because unless you are a master, there are flaws in all of our calculation protocols. We are all prone to feeling the pressure of the clock. We are all prone to following a shiny distraction or muddling up lines, doing a sort of flip-flop rather than thinking sequentially through 2 or 3 different candidate options and reaching the end of each round of calculation, evaluating, drawing a conclusion. Our thinking is muddled. And I think the porn endings just are a wonderful way of just bringing home to me how muddled my thinking is. The good news, of course, is that it seems to me that this is something that is eminently fixable. And although it might be exacerbated by my age, I did, after all, last Friday, turn 58. Although it's exacerbated by age, that can be mitigated by developing the right sorts of procedures for my thinking. So, there we are. Make of that what you will. Let me know in the comments below if you've had similar sorts of disasters, or if, even better, you have some helpful advice that will enable me to actually successfully count to 4 the next time I'm faced with a king and pawn ending. Otherwise, I trust you're enjoying your chess, and until next week, from a slightly overcast Brazil today,